Hello and welcome to another Warcraft the audio commentary. Today, guys, we're going to be watching a wonderful game between two players. You know who they are. Let's introduce them, even though they don't really need an introduction, do they? The map is Nomad Isles 1.2 version something another. I don't know. On the left side of the map, in the upper bit, we have the light blue human spawning in. It is Look Around. And in the upper right part of the map, we have the blue night elf, none other than himself, Check, who, actually, I don't know if everyone knows who Check is now. He's been away for a while. I haven't seen Check play in so long. When I found out that he was doing this, it was one of the most exciting things. I didn't know he'd been playing recently, so he's playing again. So if you're like me and have been watching Warcraft for way too long, then you're probably pretty excited to see him play again. We'll see. I don't know. Especially on this new map, which I think is, I mean, I say this is a new map. This is not a new map anymore. At this point, I don't think you can call a map that's been around for however long this has been around for a new map. It's clearly not new, but that's okay. So we're going to see Check going with the Demon Hunter first, and he's going to be doing some nice AOW creeping over here on this, what is this? This is like a mercenary camp with some turtles and crab. Well, I guess it's a turtle and crabs. Is it two turtles? Oh, some turtles and some turtles. Some turtles. Look, don't ask. I can't speak. It's been a while since I've done any casts. That's just the way life happens. And Look Around is going to be getting the Archmage out with some footmen. Pretty standard. Probably going to see some sort of a militia creep at some point. He is just getting the scout off here to kind of see what's going on. If we look at it from his point of view, we can see that he doesn't know that there's an AOW there, but he knows there's an AOW there. And he's going to go ahead and try to maybe get some steel on the mercenary. Is he going to hire something before that archer can? Oh, they're both trying to get it. They're going to try to get it. I don't know who's going to get it. I don't know when it spawns. There we go. There we go. Look Around was able to pick that priest up first, and that's a pretty good pickup, actually. So it's the kind of thing that he can use to help himself creep faster, but also it's really good that his opponent doesn't get it and come in here and start dispelling the water elementals that he has. I don't quite know the current meta, as you might imagine, so you might just, I don't know what he's going to do with this. If it looks like he's just kind of brought it back in to harass a little bit, maybe try to draw the Demon Hunter's attention. I think he denied that, so that's actually, I mean, it's better than letting it die to the Demon Hunter. Yeah. And the Demon Hunter is going to just, he's like, I really don't want to mess with that red camp right now. I'm going to go back and help finish off this creep camp. He did pick up a Boots of Speed already from the creep camp, getting level 2. Not bad, actually. It's pretty good. Down here in the left, we have the Archmage chilling out. He's picking up a Tome of Agility as well as a Ring of Regeneration as he continues to creep right now. He's already crept out the mercenary camp of his own using Militia and, of course, going right into that little green camp nearby. We're going to see the same from the good old Night Elf Check. No, we're not. Those are Wisp. I thought that was the Archer and the Ancient of War. That's fine. Check's playing a little bit more aggressive right now. We've already seen the second Forestro Shadow Priest has been picked up by Look Around. 1 mana burn off on it, but it does happen to have Brilliance Aura, right? Yeah, it does. Although, yeah, there it is. I got confused by the icons. And Check is going to kind of just try to draw some attention here. Just make sure that Look Around doesn't get too much free creeping going on, because human in the early game, especially if they have one of these little Forestro Shadow Priests that can heal and just keep them going, they have the mana for it, they have water elementals that are going to be able to help tank. I mean, they can creep very scary stuff very early on and get very quick levels, especially using Militia, depending on the type of creep camp it is. I mean, he doesn't even need all of his footmen to creep right now. He's just kind of dragging them out, trying to force Check into an awkward position of either trying to deal with the footmen over here, which takes him a while because he doesn't really have a whole lot of damage that's good versus footmen, which is going to buy him time to creep, or to come over here and try to have Check split up his army, which is what he ended up doing right there, bringing his Demon Hunter into the creep camp and trying to force additional micro from both players doing micro on multiple screens during that. It doesn't look like much, but it's a little bit difficult sometimes. The Forestro Shadow Priest will go down. He's going to try to save these peasants if they can just get them into the base, just maybe blocking the Demon Hunter just a little bit if he can. He doesn't even need to, it turns out. They're just gonna walk right across the map, right in there. One very low HP, 1 hit from dying. We're going to see a couple of peasants over here building a scout tower. could have been a little bit faster. The important bit for the scout tower is that it completes turning into a guard tower or an arcane tower. Either one is really important because these things, while they're being built or upgraded, are incredibly susceptible to piercing damage, which is what the archers do, and it's very difficult to actually keep that alive if there are archers focusing it down. Even if you're repairing it, it dies in like 1 or 2 seconds just from like 4 archers attacking it. A forest trope berserker basically is just like 2 archers, maybe 2 archers. Maybe 2 archers. I'm not sure on the exact DPS there, but it's pretty good. And we're gonna see that this demon hunter is staying in the face of look around as much as possible. He knows at this point that there's not really a lot of points to him going back and trying to creep just yet, I think. Well, he might be doing it now, but it was kind of like, I'm not going to really out-creep the Archmage and Footman and company, and he's getting an expansion, so what I'm going to do is try to be as harassy as I can, hopefully slow that down as much as I can, and then, hopefully, I think he's trying to wait for his second hero right now, probably going to pick that up from a tavern here in just a second, just in the middle of the map if he can get to it. But he does really kind of need to wait for these Ancient of Lores to go ahead and finish. I don't know. Someone just asked if Look Around is Hawk's name. Fake Nick. I really have no idea if it's a Smurf or not. It very well could be. He's playing really well. Very well. And I think that was the shop that got canceled. Yes, the shop was canceled, but the lures are still going strong. As we can see, and this is kind of the counter harass that you see very often humans will do. They'll go for, a little bit of early creep. They're going to cancel the shop once again. They do the early creep, then they go for that expansion, and then they go for harass. It's kind of the human formula that's been figured out for a little while. And it's very effective. It works pretty well versus most races. I think all races even, yeah. And Czech is just kind of, he's built his base in a really nice design, and he's going to use a little cool micro trick there to get that Wisp out of the way without losing it. And the Archmage is just kind of being chased off by that Demon Hunter at the moment.
A player's forces are under attack.
People are saying, look around Ishawks. There you go. Confirmation, I am out of the loop because I don't fit in loops anymore. What? I don't know what I'm saying, but the Panda has been picked up for Czech as the second hero, and the Panda obviously is an excellent hero to have versus any kind of amount of light ground units, which is basically all of humans' units with the exception of knights and flying units, and it's good versus most of their flying units too. So really, the Panda, an excellent choice versus human all around. We're seeing Look Around, or Hawk rather, do some really nice Mud Golem micro here, just going ahead and slowing that Demon Hunter down. Not trying to lose his Archmage. He does not have Boots of Speed on it, and the Demon Hunter does. So it's a very fast Demon Hunter, able to chase that Archmage down should it want to. But with the slow, of course, he's going to be able to kind of micro that around a little bit. We're seeing a pretty an interesting battle here, but it's going to go right on into the favor for the human player as the elf player has to TP out, although it wasn't really a one-sided fight. The human player did have to bring a bunch of militia, obviously delaying his lumber resources, which is a fairly important one when you're trying to build expansions because you want to build those towers, and they don't really cost a lot in gold, but they're very wood intense. So it's a thing. He's building quite a few towers. He is like, okay, I know that my opponent's not expanded yet. He's probably going to be trying to put up a very powerful push with the Panda. I'm going to need defenses, and I'm not going to have that in units and time for that push that he could potentially do. So I'm going to go ahead and get my towers up, my defense up, and that's going to just drain his wood, as we can basically see. He's down to 5 wood right now, very low. He's got a blacksmith going up, so he's looking to potentially make some rifles, which would be pretty good. A rifle caster build is kind of a classic build that you see versus this night elf style of play here. You go with the rifle caster, you maybe get some knights, and then you just tower up all over the place. And the problem is that the Bear Dryad army can't really engage everything the human has, and the human can kind of just keep backing away with the slowed army. It's very difficult for the elf player to deal with if they don't have the ability to keep up economically. So we're going to need to see Czech look at some sort of an expansion coming up soon. If he doesn't, I fear for him, but we'll see. I think he probably will be taking one soon enough. Ancient of Wonders finally going to get completed. It was canceled several times during that earlier harass, but it is now finished. Got an Ancient of War coming down here to set up an Ancient of War creep on that red gold mine. You need all the help you can get because this thing is just crazy. That level 8 Dark Wizard has Hex, as we saw earlier, and it's not afraid to use it. This is probably one of the cooler little additions to this map. It doesn't really make much of a difference, I think, in this matchup where there's a little hawk here. I guess it could if the human player went for sorceresses and got invisibility and tried to like bring a footman to buy an item or something with backpack. Because what happens is the hawk can see invisibility, which means that you can't, like, say, sneak a Blade Master in and Windwalk without pissing the creeps off, which is kind of cool. It's a cool little mechanic of the map. This is a really cool map. Anyway, so now we've got Hawk in a really bad spot here as Czech kind of wraps around him very easily and is going to force a TP, which is nice. Always good to force a TP if you can. Mountain King going to get a Stormbolt off onto the Demon Hunter already, just as he TPs out. Just a little bit of extra damage. He's not too worried about the mana because by the time the next engagement rolls around, even if it is very soon, he's going to have regenerated most of that mana anyway. So he doesn't care, and his mana burn, so it's not like he's really looking to stack all of his mana at any point in the game. We're going to see Hawk just go ahead and try to choke himself into this base behind these towers. It's a very nice choke point right here that we have. It's going to make that very difficult for those bears to get in. They're very wide, and they're not going to be able to walk all in there and wrap around and get behind the footmen, because that's the big thing. You don't want the bears attacking footmen. Footmen are very low-value units. They don't really contribute much to the army in total in any way other than just kind of providing nice blocks for choke points, because they're very cheap. You can throw away basically as many footmen as you want. It doesn't matter. As long as you're not losing more important and valuable units, you can just sit there and do all kinds of damage to the dryads, to the bears, to whatever, force out those staffs, and just trying to wear down that human army. And bears, obviously, not the greatest to tank versus arcane towers because they have so much mana and they take extra damage from that feedback. And also when they're out of mana, they can't do rejuvenations and they can't morph out to do rejuvenations. It's kind of a problem, and if they get staffed back home, they drain a lot more Moonwell mana. So it's kind of a problem there for Czech. But he's going to somehow staff that bear at 1 life. A bit of a micro mismanagement there by Hawk, but not too big of a deal. But definitely very good play by Czech to get that. Gonna see a bear going ahead and casting Roar for Czech. He's just doing some damage, trying to push out onto this Arcane Sanctum. We do have some breakers on the way out. First one, I believe. Over here, no, there's 2 others, or 1 other maybe. Yeah, 1 other. So two breakers out on the field at this point. We have mortar teams on their way as well. Mortar teams obviously incredibly good versus dryads, and with the way that the human player is playing, where he's trying to just, pull the night elf one way, pull him another way, just trying to kite him as much as he possibly can. He does not want Czech to just sit there and be able to keep damaging over and over and over without having to reposition, because when he's repositioning, he's not doing damage, and when he's not doing damage, he's taking damage pretty much regardless at all times. It's not a lot of damage. The Mountain King actually going to go down, unfortunately for Czech there. Got caught in a really bad spot with those dryads slowing him down as he runs away. But it's level 1 Mountain King, and honestly, Hawk does not need it to be alive that much. He has it. It's good. He basically wants it to soak up XP because he doesn't really care about the Archmage that much once it hits level 3. Having level 4 is somewhat useful because it does have more mana regeneration, and that's always good for those long drawn-out fights. But other than that, he doesn't really care. He's in it for the long haul. And as we just saw, he can basically take this kind of a fight for a really long time. He does have a couple mortar teams out at the moment, which means he can even take this kind of fight and do a lot more damage. The Mountain King is back out. He's just not looking to be in any kind of hurt right now, as he just sits here and waits to try to just take little engagements and just continuously reposition himself. Back up, throw away militia, throw away footmen, it doesn't matter. Get rid of the units that are just really cheap on gold and nothing else. And just, don't worry about them, because what you're doing is you're trading for those high-value bears. You're trading for those high, they're not really high-value dryads, but in a way they are, because they cost 60 wood a pop, which is insane. And also, the bigger thing for the elf player oftentimes is their production capacity, where they only have maybe 2 Ancient of Lores here. It's kind of rare to see them go into a 3rd Ancient of Lore production. Also, Czech still has not made an expansion at this point. He's not necessarily in trouble because he still has about 4,300 gold left in his gold mine, so he's going to buy him a little bit of time to go for an expansion, but he needs to get one up pretty soon. If he wants to be able to keep fighting Hawk in the long game here, and that's basically what we're looking at, is him trying to take this to the long game. Well, not really. Hawk is trying to take it to the long game, while Czech is just trying to end it. And creep as much as he can. That's a great idea right now for Czech. What he wants to do is push the advantage of having a nice teched army as much as he can. But he still needs to be able to get that expansion put down somehow while he does it, because the saving grace for him is that this Mountain King is not leveled up yet. And that the Archmage is not level 6 yet. These are things that are probably going to happen in a long, drawn-out game. The Mountain King's going to level up. The Archmage will have mass teleport all of a sudden. And all of a sudden he can start doing this. Okay, you push me here, well I'll go push you there, and I'll do more damage to your base because I have mortar teams. And you have a panda, which is nice, but it's probably going to run out of mana before I run out of absurd amounts of siege damage, which is going to force the elf player to get pulled around all over the map, which is not good. But Czech is doing a really good job in this fight, taking out a Spellbreaker, not bad. And that panda very low on life, going to be staffed back to the base. Heals up at a Moonwell. Excuse me. And now we're going into a creeping period, it looks like. This will be the time maybe where Czech tries to secure an expansion. Looks at the same time, we're going to see Hawk go for another expansion himself. Putting down some scout towers at the lower left-ish. 8 o'clock base? What do you call that? I think that's like an 8 o'clock base right here. While Czech comes down to his 3 o'clock base and creeps it out with no help of that Ancient War, which has been there for quite some time. In position, ready and waiting, but he will go ahead and put down that the Tree of Life at the gold mine. And at the shop, we're going to see level 5 on that Demon Hunter. Level 5 on that Panda. I don't know how long they've been level 5 for. Sorry. Excuse me again. And yeah, so they're just chilling out at this point. A little bit of low action period. Some creeping. I think this period benefits Hawk quite a bit more because he is actually still getting experience from this, and he's getting another base from this. You really, I mean, as the Night Elf in this matchup, you don't necessarily mind being down one base, but you don't want to be down one base the entire game. At some point, particularly in the late game, you kind of hope to equalize that base count, or potentially even get ahead if you can. You're going to see a really nice haze fire on those peasants. They're going to die. This one just narrowly escaping getting hit by the haze. Potentially... Is Hawk just not caring? Is he creeping? Yeah, Hawk doesn't care. He was just creeping. He was like, I got plenty of towers up there. They'll take care of this. They'll make sure nothing too bad happens. But we are seeing, and this is kind of nice, he is really using the mana on these bears. Use the mana. And the reason that he uses the mana here is because there's going to be Spellbreakers. And Spellbreakers do extra damage to bears that have full mana.
A player's forces are under attack.
Or rather, any mana. Any mana at all. So if you get the mana on those bears down as low as you can, then that's it's good. It's not worth it probably to just straight up use the mana like completely willy-nilly, but to get some value out of it, like do some harass, kill some peasants, force them to repair, stop their mining time. You do that kind of thing, put some extra pressure onto the human. Maybe he's in a really weird creep camp and he can't come back for a really long time. So basically the point is you end up doing a lot of extra damage, and then you just use all that mana that you had to rejuve, and you're back up to full, and basically you're in an even better spot to fight their army than you were before you started. So it's really good. It's really good if you can find opportunities to use your bear mana in that way versus a human. But it looks like they're kind of both content just to sit back at the moment. The one thing you do have to consider, too, is that while this does look like Czech is one base down, I would say if we look to the main base, they're both at 1,500 gold mine, basically. And this Tree of Eternity here, it doesn't have its speed upgrade yet, but it can walk over here, okay? Which is why we see that Czech is taking this base down here. And when that happens, when they're both out of gold at their main base, we're actually going to see, unless Hawk can take another base, Czech's going to pull ahead in the economy. Because this gold mine here has only got 2,600 gold left. Well, this gold mine, this Tree of Life, will have this gold mine, which is 10,000 gold. And then it'll have this gold mine, which is about 15,000 gold. Compared to about 2,500 gold plus 13,000 gold. So you're saying it's going to end up being 2 base versus 1 in Czech's favor, which is a dynamic that's really interesting, the way that this kind of plays out often on elf versus human. where the human has like the clear advantage in economy for quite a while. The elf has the advantage in tech, and then somehow their tech kind of levels out a bit, and then if the elf has done their job right, is he gonna lose the mortar? He lost the mortar to the creep. Oh man, to the drain life. But then the elf is gonna pull ahead somehow in economy. It's a very nifty mechanic, being able to walk your base around. Very nifty indeed. But having said that, there is still the chance, obviously, that Hawk is going to take another base sometime soon. This base is potentially up for grabs, although I would not be surprised to see him try to come down here, because the base down here, it's a little bit closer to the elf player's base, and that's not really a bad thing, because if Hawk is putting himself in an aggressive position with a bunch of towers, if he can get the base up with towers, then he can kind of just do the same thing that he did when he was defending his main base and just delay. And if he's also forcing the elf to be at the bottom of the base, then he has pretty much free reign to just send some militia up to the top base and put an expansion up there as well. So that human economy, it's not out for the count, even though it's on its way to being in a kind of bad spot. But we're going to see, is he going to be able to defend this base? He's going to try, definitely. Looks like he's not going to have any towers for backup, though, which is a bit of an odd choice as well. The bears are not in a good spot here for engaging the army, but they're in a great spot. I think he might just go straight for this town hall. He's going to go straight for the town hall. Is he going to be able to get it in time before he TPs out? Was that a slight premature TP? It was. He did not get the town hall, and that is just really unfortunate. If he had just timed that TP maybe 2-3 seconds later, he would have had another breath of fire. It wouldn't have killed all the peasants, but it would have taken them very low on life, and it would have done a big chunk of damage to the town hall. So he maybe just could have taken that out with 3 seconds, and he probably would have only lost a bear or two. Probably a good trade. But nonetheless, still not a bad trade what he did. He took out some towers, delays a lot of mining time here, cost whatever it takes to get this thing repaired all the way back up to full. And here comes Hawk going for the top expansion. Not a bad choice either. Not a bad choice either. Basically, it's the same thing. If you can force the elf at the top of the map, you can kind of then put yourself down to the bottom. Although I will say one thing I do like about taking the top is that he doesn't really have any towers at the bottom, so the bottom's already exposed. So he's already going to have his army down in the bottom, which means that Czech is already not going to be at the top of the map, so he can take the top of the map basically for free, which is kind of cool. Kind of good strategy thinking from Hawk there. And just a bit of vying for position. Blizzard, of course, being one of the more annoying spells in the game. Because by the time Archmages ever really end up using it, they're level 5, so they have a ton of mana. They can just spam it all they want, and then they have those Spellbreakers. Spellbreakers, well, here's the thing. Blizzard does friendly fire, but Spellbreakers are immune to magic, so they don't actually end up getting taken, they don't actually end up taking any damage from it, which is kind of cool. We have an engagement going on here. Once again, not going to be able to quite take out that base. Tries to, but he thinks he's in a pretty good spot here, and I've got to agree. He's just going to push his luck here. If he would just take these Dryads here, maybe move them a little bit closer to those, chase down those mortar teams, that would go really well. We were going to see some Cyclones coming out, probably from a Cyclone Wand. I didn't quite see the item. Yeah, the Wand of the Wind on the Mountain King there. The Mountain King very low on life right now, but he does have some nice potions, so he can just potentially go ahead and pop one of those if he needs to. No reason to waste it if he doesn't. Comes a very big... Oh, the Mountain King goes down with like a ton of good items. He had a Scroll of Healing and then 2 items that restored 500 healing points each. And still he lost his Mountain King. That is just a bad bit of miss micro there. And he also had, I think this one was probably right here. He had 2 Scrolls of Healing on the Archmage itself, but I believe it was on cooldown. So maybe he was trying to pop that one. It was on cooldown, and maybe that's what happened. I don't know what happened there, but that was a big mistake. This base down here still not finished off yet. This base not at all important. So if Czech is smart, I think he's going to go finish this off and then potentially, scout that up there and take that down as well. He's going to find himself in a bit of trouble, though, if he keeps trying to fight with this army without any Dryads. Where are the Dryads? He needs more Dryads because he can't deal with the slow. The Wisp could detonate really well right there. And I gotta say, this is going really bad. He's losing a lot of bears right now. He's just trying his best to kill that Archmage, I think. And he's almost getting that Demon Hunter surrounded. It doesn't really have a good way out of that because it only has a Staff of Teleportation, which, while that's not a bad escape. Oh, he did. Okay, he had the Staff of Preservation on the Panda. I was like, that's really sketchy because that takes about 3 seconds just about to teleport out. So it's kind of not a great hope if you're getting surrounded at low life. And Panda just moving around. He did pick up level 6 on the Panda. He's got a potion of mana. I don't believe that's going to give him enough mana to get out of the situation. He was hoping for it, but the Spellbreakers were right on top of him. He's actually going to fall down and die. That is an unfortunate situation for that Panda. But he's taken out this expansion. I don't think he's even going to get it, though, because he's going to have to run right now. He's going to lose more bears. What is going on in this game? This game is blowing my mind. I mean, we just saw... Okay, just a recap of what just happened. Also, that was a suicidal bear. That was tragic to watch. He had so much to live for. But to recap what happened, right? We saw... Okay, Czech takes the fight down here, right? Czech takes the fight down here. At this expansion, while he's trying to take down the expansion, he had his wisp down at this point, being just distracted by a couple of the units that Hawk had. And then he takes this fight, which is actually really, really well positioned for him. He leaves the expansion alone, takes the fight, wins the fight, and not only does he win the fight, he manages to pick off the Mound King somehow, which was incredibly impressive to be. I don't know how he did it. Takes that. And then instead of coming down here and directly taking out the town hall, he chases the rest of Hawk's army up to here, up to this expansion that's now defunct, instead of taking this out. Loses his army, basically. Loses his Panda. That was level 6, so it's going to take forever to come back from the Altar of Elders. I don't know if he probably taverned it, so he probably taverning it, which means he spent a ton of money on it, and basically just completely took a game that he was doing really, really well in, and tried to kill the Archmage, failed to kill the Archmage, and is now really far behind. I think this is a classic lesson, because that's a level 6 Archmage with Mass Teleport. You can't win that game versus human. I'm not saying that you can't win that game versus human. Once they get Mass Teleport and they have this kind of an army that you just can't really kill, there's almost no way out at this point. Even though he's doing a really good job, I mean, Czech is just destroying this army with that Panda's ultimate. I mean, just, wow, it is so good. So very good. But he doesn't have enough Dryads, and he's also going to have a really hard time having any kind of map presence anymore, because I mean, all it takes is, just one water elemental that's had invisibility cast on it that runs across the map that you're never going to see. You're never going to know that there was some invisible water elemental that all of a sudden the Archmage is mass teleporting to and taking out your only source of gold income. It's going to be very difficult for Czech to kind of take this game at this point. But I will say, I do think that he definitely had it if he had just backed off instead of chasing up to here. I know that it's kind of difficult to kind of back off from a human army. But I think all the casters were dead. It was just a bunch of Spellbreakers at that point versus a bunch of bears that had slow. So really, he just needed to get those Dryads out. But Metamorphosis has been cast. I gotta say, 2 level 6 Elf Heroes might actually be enough. I don't know. I'm not gonna. It looks like this is gonna be hard, but he might. Is he doing it? I think he's actually doing it. Well, there is one way. If the human doesn't have an army, then he can't win the game. That's true. But I think that just got turned around really quickly, actually. Blizzard on slowed bears is pretty impressive. There you go. I think that's... I'm assuming Czech's going to call it after that, because holy crap. But, wow, what a game. Back and forth, back and forth. And even when you count Czech out, or when I counted... I'm sorry, I shouldn't, but I kind of had. He can still almost come back and surprise you. I don't know if he almost came back right there, probably not. But it looked like the fight could have gone either way for about 2 seconds. Metamorphosis, very scary. That staff on the Panda, not the greatest, unfortunately. Not much. I mean, it's gonna work. It's gonna work. It's only gonna work, isn't it? And out he goes. back into the foray? No real reason to. I think he's just trying to use the staff on the Demon Hunter, which he did. Now he's going to try to staff over to the Panda. Not going to quite happen. GG is going to be called, and that is game over for Czech. And this was from the loser bracket early on. So unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see Czech play again in this tournament, but on the bright side, we'll get to see more of Hawk. And so that is the game. I am thoroughly impressed by that. I will say it myself. As usual. Oh, you know, I just did that. I should probably get rid of those two. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, so that is the game for today, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you will also excuse my kind of rustiness there, because it's been just a little while since I have done any casting. Obviously, you can probably tell that some issues, but maybe you'll forgive me for that, and next time it'll be even better. What do you say? I hope so. All right, well, thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good night. Yep, there'll be more tomorrow, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.